Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar Mastering App Stickiness, How Gamified Profiles Drive User Retention. I'm Bam, Product Marketing Manager at Social Plus, and I'm here with Italo, our Senior Solution Engineer today. Would you like to say a word, Italo?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Bam. Nice to be here with you with this interesting topic. And well, the idea here, I think, is to understand a bit more about how you can get this type of engagement by the user idea with the user profiles.
Yeah, exactly. In this session, we're going to dive into why profiles matter and anatomy of a great community profile, why it is an engagement engine, and lastly, a very interesting live demo, which will be covered by Ilo, where we will cover how to build and connect profiles in your community. So let's dive in. Let's start by looking at these apps. You probably recognize them instantly, right? Like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Duolingo, and Strava. But what do they all have in common here? Italo, what do you think?
I would say that in general terms, all of these different applications, they have the idea of generating engagement by based also on driving community like users actions to generate interactions based on that and gain also, let's say, points or perspectives about what they are doing as a user profile.
Right, exactly. Like these are very true. And like you said, they have something really fundamental that makes them such a powerful platform, right? So let's take a closer look on that. So when you look inside each of these apps, you find the same core engine, and that's the user profile. Whether it's your fitness milestones on Strava, your career path on LinkedIn, your language progress on Duolingo, or even your social life on Facebook and Instagram, everything centers around the user profile. And this is why they have huge communities and deep engagement because they treat the user profile as the foundation, not just a feature. And when we think about profiles, it is not just about uploading a picture or filling in a bio. It is about giving people a way to tell their story, whether like what they have done, what they care about, and what they are a part of. And that context really matters because when people feel seen, when they have a real identity in the community, they are way more likely to connect and engage. And in fact, communities with strong profiles generate 60% more user to user interactions. And the more interaction means more reasons to come back. It is a key part of why people stay and why retention goes up. And here is why that deeper connection is so powerful for your business. Just like a 5% increase in user retention can lead to a 75% jump in profits. Yeah, 75% just by getting a few more people to stick around, to stay engaged, to feel connected. And that is really the power of building around real profiles and real relationships. It compounds over time, fostering more trust, more loyalty, and even stronger communities and lasting growth. But what is retention really? Let's take a step back and really break it down a little bit more. Overall, retention is not just one key moment. It actually happens across three phases, which are onboarding, activation, and habitual use. First, you get people into the app, and that is onboarding. Then you help them experience real value. That is activation. And if you do both really well, you turn that into a habit that is where real retention kicks in. And once someone is retained, they are much more likely to stay engaged, active, and even bring others in. And here's the key. They play a crucial role across every single phase. So for example, during onboarding phase, a user joins and builds a profile, which helps them form identity right away. This establishes who they are in the community. it is like the first moment they are not just an anonymous user, they are actually someone, then in activation profiles become a bridge to interaction. It also helps them people get acknowledged, giving them a sense of, oh, I actually, have a place here, not just like I'm using the app. And overall their presence gets noticed, and that keeps them coming back. It's that moment when a user realizes, hey, like people actually see me here. And that is like the first real aha moment. And finally, in habitual use, profiles reinforces identity over time. It tracks achievements, showcases contributions, and reinforces identity every time the user comes back. So the more active they are, the more their profile reflects their story, and the stronger their connection to the community becomes. So profiles are not static, but they are living proof that users matter and that they belong. And overall, profiles are really crucial in driving retention. There's also another big opportunity hidden inside profiles. They are a perfect place to actually create momentum, which is gamification. And gamification turns profiles into a journey users want to continue every day, which helps drive 40% higher retention rates and 36% more engagement. So, from your experience, Italo, what are some small gamification elements that can really move the needle on user engagement or retention? And have you seen any examples where even just a simple gamification feature made a big impact?
Yeah, so in this case, I would say the idea of having these profiles with different level of points is
Mhm.
something that we have seen in several cases, as it helps like give benefits on the side of our customers. So this is something very interesting. One of the case I can remember and I can relate that we have seen directly is, for example, with the application Herjuno, in which if they, instead of having points, as you can see in your image, they have avocados. And people or users will get avocados, which then they can change for benefits. So within their profile, they can see how many avocados they have and when they can use it and the benefits that they will have. This is just as an example. Other cases we have are based on badges, for instance, or even for interest. Instead of having a simple description, as we can see in this case that says fitness is my life, you can have a different, let's say, interest that you can add into our user profile so that it is easier to recognize if a user has the same interest as you, or maybe for the user to find and search different information that's relevant to their interests. So these are some of the things that we have seen that were relevant for having this higher engagement and also having this higher identification with a user profile from the user level.
Yeah, I actually find the avocado example really interesting because, they closely tie profiles with rewards in such a very memorable way as well. And, when users like feel like they are achieving something, even just a small milestone, they are much likely to stick around, right? And stay even more active. So, now I'm curious to even look further at what the anatomy of a great community profile actually looks like. And I think there's no one size fits all, but there are a few patterns that show up again and again across successful platforms. So first, you have the minimalist profiles on the left-hand side, right? These work by offering some clarity, simplicity, and quick engagement. They are clean, easy to navigate, and focus on only what matters most, which is perfect for users who just want to, jump in, connect, and engage without any distractions. And minimalist profiles are especially powerful in professional or productivity focused communities where users value speed and clarity over heavy visuals. Then on the other side, next to minimalist profiles, you have personalized profiles. These type of profiles give users a way to infuse their identity into the platform, whether it's their styles, their interests, their brand. And when users can customize their experience, they are much more likely to feel ownership and a stronger emotional connection. And the more control they have, whether it is through bios, themes, and content, the deeper their investment tends to be. And personalized profiles really shine in creative, artistic, or even hobbyist communities where self expression is important and everything. And lastly, like we mentioned before, you have gamified profiles. These are built around rewards, recognition, and competition. Features like badges, points, and progress bars. They create like a visible markers of achievement. They motivate users to keep going, to level up, and to even stand out. And this type of profile really taps into basic human drivers like accomplishment, social proof, and a little friendly competition. So when that is done right, it keeps users coming back not just for the content, but for the feeling of progress and recognition inside the community. And since gamification is so important to keeping users engaged, let's dive into one of the simplest but most effective tools, like mentioned by Italo, and that those are badges. Badges are actually so powerful because they turn everyday activity into like a visible recognition. They give users something to earn, something to show off, and also something to work towards. And different type of badges helps you drive different kinds of behavior. So first you have activity badges. Things like first post or frequent poster. These are great for encouraging early actions, helping users break the ice and start participating right away. Then you have contribution badges for users who are adding real value, like super contributor or question master. These are good for recognizing quality engagement, not just for showing up, but actually helping or contributing to the community meaningfully. And next are community engagement badges like community leader or community builder. These are great for fostering relationships and loyalty, making users feel like they are part of building something bigger than themselves. And finally, you have milestone badges for celebrating bigger achievements like first 100 posts or a top 10 runner. These are powerful for long-term motivation, keeping users excited about reaching the next level over time. And I think and a great example for this would be Strava, where not only users get badges, but they also get to compare like the level of competition or having runners work towards the highest running pace. So overall, each type of batch plays a very different role, and together they create a full system where users feel recognized for every stage of their journey. And speaking of how to actually bring that to life, I'll hand this over to Italo now. He is going to walk us through a live demo of how you can set up profiles and also, how to connect it to existing ones. So take the floor, Italo. You're on mute.
Sorry. Okay, so as you can see here on our screen, I am running our UI kit, which is a template that contains certain, let's say, default components and UI that you can use. From our side, we only require a user ID, as you can see in this case. And this is very interesting because let's imagine that you also have a user profile on your side, on your application level. You do not need to pass to us all the details of that user profile. We only require the user ID, which is going to be, let's say, the object that's going to connect your side with ours. Now from there you can pass any information that you want from your already existing user profile into our social user profile, which I will show in a bit. So just to have an idea of how you can manage if you already have a user profile on your site, do not feel the pressure or the need to pass all the information on the relevant attributes that you would like to show in the community tab, but consider that we will only need the user ID. Now from here, we will log in directly and we will have like the access to our UI kit. Now from here, we will go directly into our user profile. Right now, I'm going to Jono2. As you can see, you'll have access to an avatar here about the following users, which are the users I'm following, or the followers, which are the users that are following me. Here, you will be able to see the posts that you create in your newsfeed, the comments, and as well you will have a gallery for images and also for videos. This is something out of the box that we have in our UI kit for native platforms. And let's imagine directly, you can also do a change in the profile from here. This is your user profile on our UI kit. As you can see, you have an optional part that's called about. Here you can add some description or details, for example, something like, I love traveling, and from here, this is something additional that will be added into the, let's say, the user profile. Now going to the technical point, for instance, in our UI kit, you can find the initial details for the user profile in what we call our Amity user profile header component. This one goes for the header, which is this top part. So as you can see, you have the direct access to the page that's relevant for the purpose of a user profile. And based on this, you can customize it and change the details or the components that are part of it. Here, as you can see, we'll have different of the functions or features we already provide. For instance, we have the user profile header, which is something that you can change and arrange based on what you would like to see. The user avatar, which would be this case, we already have it as a different design based on a circle, similar to Facebook, Instagram style. You can change this. You can also put a background there, depending on that. Here we have for the description, which will be, here you'll see the username, which is John02, and we're getting this as a display name directly. Then we have the user get description, which would be the I love traveling, as you saw before. Before I added the description, it was empty, so you can also change that here directly. We also have the user followings, as you can see here directly. We also have the user followers and things like that. So this page, for instance, shows you all those details for the user profile that you can change directly and get the relevant information for your use case. Now from here, you can adapt this part, or you can also adapt this part, which is based on a newsfeed. So the user profile is, let's say, it's created or is based on the Amity user profile header component and also on the newsfeed for the Amity user newsfeed, in this case, as a profile. And then based on this, you can do the relevant changes that you would like to manage and so on. Now, considering the case of, let's imagine you already have a user profile on your site, again, as I mentioned to you here, in this case, you only need a description. There's no other information that you require. However, we do support what we call our user subject metadata, where you can add these components or these details in the metadata, and then you will render, let's imagine, Jono2. Let's imagine we put in metadata the interest, that he's interested in Milan, he's interested in traveling, he's interested in getting recommendations, things like that, and you can show them here. The same way for the gamification details. Let's imagine you want to put the punctuation that you have already on a system on your site. So you will update the metadata and have here, let's imagine, a part, as Bam showed in the slides, that says 90 points, and also with an image as you want. All of that customizable from our open source UI kit that we have shown here. This is mainly our approach for user profiles considering our UI kit. I don't know, Bam, if you have any questions or any interesting detail that you would like to add on this.
Yeah, actually, I think you've touched a lot of points on the UI kit, right? That you can customize different parts and also bring in the existing user profile that our users may have and select each of them individually. What are some of the, you know, time or types of data that users or users are thinking of selecting and not showing? Like what are like as a starting point?
I would say usually the basic, especially for social communities, would be the display name and a description or some interest and an avatar. That would be like the basic information, or the, like, let's say, the starting point for generating this type of user profile and engagement. Then from there, it depends on the use case from the customer if they want to add any other relevant components or filters so that they can have more information on a user profile level, so that users will get a better insight about the users they want to follow or not.
Right. And are there any types of data that we should avoid, or you have seen when people select what kind of data to include? Would you say?
Usually, from our side,
Mhm.
we're only the data processors, so the data comes directly from what the customer has defined. As a recommendation, and also our customers do not want this, and this is also for the purpose of knowing that, as I mentioned before, what you have on your user side is not necessarily going to be the same here. So if you have many maybe financial information, health details, maybe more relevant personal information, that doesn't mean that you're going to pass it to our side, because here is a social environment, so you can only provide the details for these key aspects that we show, or the user ID, that's what we require, and the other kind of type of information will not be required. Additionally to this, I would say from our side we have different moderation components, and we will recommend all and we always recommend our customers, if there's something particular that their users might be sharing, like let's imagine like cell phone numbers, or maybe potentially sharing an account, they can do a customization on the front end, so that if they detect that the user is writing, let's imagine, 4 or 5 numbers in a sentence, then it's going to be blocked and not get created, because it's potentially a number on an account number, which will violate this type of privacy details.
So basically, you have the control of what you'd like to bring over into the social environment, and also another layer of moderation to make sure that no sensitive information is being passed on, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Cool. I actually like to pass not the mic, but I'd like to see if there are any questions in the crowd regarding what we've discussed so far in this session. Let's give it a few seconds. Okay. Seems like there are no questions from the audience end. Is there any other use cases or anything you'd like to showcase on our UI kit concerning the profiles?
Well, we also have the mechanics about following and followers users, which also helps to populate what we call the newsfeed. So
Right.
if you have a more robust profile, you will also have a different amount of followers or following, or the users that you are following and the users that are following you. And based on that, it will affect the global newsfeed that you have, as you will get combined information of the users that you're following. And if you get more users that are following you, then those users will be seeing your content, which in the end can also help, or can be enhanced by having a more robust profile that will show this information.
Right. Okay, awesome. Seems like we've reached the end of the live demo session, and since there are no questions, uh, should we wrap it up then? Okay, cool. Thank you everyone for attending our, quick and short webinar on profiles today. I hope you gained some insights and a better idea on how profiles actually work, especially with our solution Social Plus. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you guys in our next webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.